High ticket isn't a math problem. It's an identity problem. Most of you are out here selling a checklist of tasks when your clients are actually starving for transformation. If you feel like you're competing with $47 templates or AI bots that can do your job faster and cheaper, it's because you're selling a commodity. You're acting like an assistant instead of being a leader. Today, we're moving beyond transactional. I'm handing you the framework to trade information for influence and finally own the premium value of the work you do. Let's get to work. Welcome to the Midlife Business Academy. I'm Lori Lyons, marketing strategist, business coach, and accidental techie. After years of running a successful website design agency, I'm now building the business of my dreams and helping other midlife entrepreneurs do the same. From strategy to marketing to mindset, we covered what really matters when you're growing a business that fits your life. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Midlife Business Academy. Let's skip right past the surface stuff. More content, more posting, more hustle. That's not what will allow you to charge premium prices. And deep down, I think you already know that because people don't buy services, they buy change. If you want to charge what you're worth and have your future clients say yes without hesitation, you must be able to clearly define the transformation you provide, not the process, not the sessions, not the number of worksheets or PDFs, the transformation. Because here's what most coaches don't realize. Transformation is not what happens during your program. It's what you're selling. It's the entire process and the entire promise. And if you can't name it clearly, structure it intentionally, and guide it confidently, you'll always be competing on price instead of value. So today we're talking about what transformation actually is and why it commands a higher ticket and how to know if you're truly offering it. Transformation is an information. It's not emotional processing. It's not temporary motivation. It's not feeling better after a good conversation. Transformation is identity shift. It's when you're not the same person at the end of the work. It's when you think differently, you decide differently, you show up differently, not because you learned a new tactic, but because it fundamentally changed who you believe yourself to be. And most people don't know that transformation follows a path. I call these the 4 R's of transformation: reveal, release, redefine, and rise. Reveal is when you finally see the problem, not the surface frustration, not the checklist frustration, but the pattern, the belief, the identity underneath it all. It's the moment you say, oh, that's what's really happening. It's those aha reveal moments, because without reveal, everything else is just tactics layered on top of that unexamined belief. And that's never lasting change. Release is letting go of those old beliefs, those old stories you tell yourself, the old roles that used to serve you but don't anymore. You can't carry "I'm not ready" and at the same time show up as someone who launches boldly. Your old identity has to dissolve before the new one can take form. No release, no transformation. The third R is redefine. It's where your new identity is constructed. This is where you stop saying, "I'm trying to be more confident," and start saying, "I don't do that anymore." It's intentional, not accidental. You have a clear vision of who you're becoming and you're stepping into it. And the final stage, rise. It's when the transformation becomes visible. Picture the heavens singing and the phoenix rising out of the ashes, because your behavior changes, your decisions change, your conversations changed. You used to undercharge. Now you raise your prices and you don't flinch. You used to shrink. Now you speak with conviction. You used to shrink. Now you speak with conviction. Transformation isn't complete until it shows up externally, until you not only feel differently, but you act differently and you look different. And that's the full arc: reveal, release, redefine, and rise. If your coaching does move people through all four stages, you're offering something valuable, but it's not transformation. Now, here's something that lives inside this framework, something every one of us talk about and run into, and it's right in the middle of release: the dreaded imposter syndrome. Not as a personality flaw, not as I'm in the wrong business, but it's completely predictable in this stage of the transformation. It's the final part of the release stage. In reveal, you see the imposter. You recognize the old story, the old role, the belief you've been hiding behind. But in release, you actually face it down. You put that mask down. And that's where the real fear lies and the real transformation happens. Because here's what actually happens when you feel like a fraud: you're releasing an identity that used to keep you safe. Many of the clients I work with have spent years being that reliable expert. Hello, that's me. The one with all the answers, the one who earns their place by knowing everything. That identity worked and it was safe. And now you're being asked to release it and step into something bigger. That visionary leader, the expert, the person who doesn't have to have every answer to be the authority. I know this one personally because when I went from a web designer to business coach, it took me years to actually do it. I started actually talking about this 6 years ago. I'm just now this year, this last 6 months, making that shift. And boy, was it frightening. So I know of what I speak. But recognizing transformation and doing this work and building this process has really helped me identify and define my transformation and my business transformation. We'll talk about business in just a second. And boy, did imposter syndrome show up big time, because I finally had to loosen that grip of I know everything. I did know everything a lot. Well, I knew a lot about website design. I knew a lot about marketing. I knew a lot about messaging. I knew a lot about branding, and all of this came together. But when I started changing the direction and changing the shift, boy, was that frightening. And boy, did that. We're reading Playing Big in my book club right now, and we're talking about the inner critic, kind of like the cousin, the kissing cousin of imposter syndrome, and that's what shows up. It's if you don't have all the answers, you're an imposter. And that's not what happens. That's just your old identity struggling to stay alive. Imposter syndrome is a defense mechanism. It's not a diagnosis. I'm not ready isn't fact. It's that shield we put up. And somewhere between release and redefine, there's a void. And you're no longer the old version of yourself, but you're not yet solid in who the new one is becoming. And this is where the imposter syndrome lives, in that gap and that void. It tells you that because you're not really like completely done yet, you must be a fake. But uncertainty is that's what happens. It's just part of who you're becoming. So if you're in a program now and you're feeling like a fraud, hear this. Feeling like an imposter means that the release is working. You've loosened your old grip on the old safe version of yourself, and your ego is panicking because it doesn't recognize who you're becoming. Don't mistake the discomfort of growth for evidence of being an imposter. That's transformation in progress. Now, here's something that is worth talking about. Everything we've talked about not only applies to you as a person, but it applies also to your business, because most of us out there are solo business owners or we're very small business owners. So what we do and how we change really affects our business. And as we change, our business changes. And that's not a side effect. That's really kind of the point because your business is a direct reflection of who you are and your identity. So when that shifts, your positioning shifts, your pricing shifts, your clients shift. Sometimes the entire direction of your business shifts, like going from a website designer to a business coach. The internal transformation always has to come first. The business transformation will follow. You can't build a premium business from an unexamined identity. But when the identity work is done, the business almost can't help but reflect who that is. So now let's talk about the number one thing I hear. I need more clients. Everyone comes to me as that's their biggest problem. I need more clients. Well, who doesn't? We all do. But the client problem is never a marketing problem. It's a positioning problem. Templates, PDFs, and frameworks don't create desire. They create comparison, but a promise of an identity shift, speaking directly to the pain someone is living inside and offering them a way to become someone who longer has that problem. That creates investment. That's what gets you to a yes. And here's what will change everything for you. Transformation allows you to charge more and work with fewer clients. And that's not a luxury. That's a new business model. You stop chasing volume and you start attracting the right people at the right price. Because your promise is no longer here's what you'll get, all 754,000 PDFs and all the video modules. It's here's who you'll become. And the way you talk about your work is where the identity shifts. Transformational language sells identity evolution. Transactional language sells tasks, PDFs, and templates. Transformation language is who you become and how you show up differently in the world. So here's the difference. If you're a business coach, you're transactional. I'll help you improve your messaging. Been there, done that. I wrote the book. Transformational message. You'll speak about your work with authority and attract clients who are already sold before the sales call. You're a health coach. Transactional is lose 10 pounds in 12 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever. Transformational is someone who trusts her body, takes care of her health confidently, and doesn't need outside forces to feel good. Life coach, transactional. Get unstuck and figure out your next step. God, how many times have we heard that one? Everybody's talking about getting unstuck now. But transformational is step into the version of yourself who knows exactly what she wants, who she is, and stop shrinking to make other people feel comfortable. How powerful is that compared to get unstuck? One helps you cope, the other helps you become. One charges $1,000, the other charges $15,000. When you have tasks and templates, they get compared. It becomes a commodity. The person who's charging $1,000 less than you are will get the job and get the business because all they're buying are templates and PDFs and videos. But when you're offering transformation, that identity shifts. There's no comparison because you're offering a version of themselves that they can't get with 747,000 PDFs and templates. Identity. So let's talk about AI because I think it belongs in this conversation. Because AI can generate the checklist, outline processes. I use it all the time for this. It can answer any question that I have faster and faster and cheaper than I can if you're asking me the question. And it's a remarkable tool. And in a well-built program, it will really help define the program. But what it can't do, or at least not today, and hopefully not ever, is facilitate transformation. It can't facilitate the identity shift. It can't ask the questions that finally make someone see what makes them invisible. It can't hold that tension when someone sits in discomfort. It can't witness the moment someone has that aha and decides to let go of what they've been. If your offer is purely transactional, AI is your competition, and it's getting better, faster, and cheaper every day. But if your offer is transformational, your value increases because human transformation still requires human guidance, and that's never going to change. Premium programs can absolutely include those PDFs, templates, and videos. Those are valuable. They create structure, but they are not transformational. They only support it. So when tools are the promise, you're competing with $27 and $47 programs. When the identity shift and the transformation is the promise, that's when your offer becomes premium. You invest more when change goes deeper. You won't pay premium for information you can look up or that AI can generate. You pay premium when internal friction stops, when self-doubt dissolves, when your trajectory changes, when you believe I will not be the same person at the end of this. That's what justifies premium pricing. So, how do you know if you're offering transformational or transactional offers? Here are 4 questions that you can ask yourself, and these are going to be your action steps, so listen carefully. Can you name the real problem? Not the surface complaint, but the belief, the pattern, the identity underneath it. What are the symptoms of the problem? I talk about that all the time. What are the symptoms of the pain? Can you articulate what has to be released? What has to change? What old belief or role has to dissolve before you can become this new identity and help your clients become the new identity? Can you specifically describe who are they going to become? Not just more confident, but the exact identity shift that happens. If you're not sure about this, go listen to those examples that I gave you just a few minutes ago, because that is the exact identity shift that happens. And the 4th question, is there any visible behavior change at the end? Not just a good experience, but a different way of moving through the world once your client takes your program. If you can answer all 4 of these clearly, you're offering transformation. If you can't, go back and refine your offer before you position it as transformational. And that's not a criticism, it's just your next step. The shift from transactional to transformational isn't about adding more to your program. Don't add another 100,000 PDFs because that's not it. It's about leading with a different promise. Stop leading with what they'll get and start leading with who they'll become. Go back and listen to that again if you need to. So here's your action step. Take one offer that you have, just one, and write down the answers to the 4 questions. What identity must be revealed? What belief must be released? And who does my client become after they work with me? If you can't answer them clearly, your offer needs refinement. If you can answer them, but you're not saying them publicly, your message needs elevating. Facilitators charge for sessions. Designers of identity shift charge for transformation. Your clients will invest in becoming someone new. You just have to decide if you're ready to offer that level of change. And I will tell you, making this transformation myself to a new identity took a lot of soul searching to decide if I was ready to offer this kind of change. And you know what? Yes, I am. If this episode has you thinking differently about what you're selling and you're ready to go deeper, I'm creating a webinar totally based on these 4 changes, and we'll go a little bit deeper. We're going to take everything we talked about today, and you'll walk away with knowing exactly what transformation you provide, how to talk about it in a way that creates desire instead of comparisonitis, and how to position your offer so that the right clients say yes at the right price you actually want to charge. So grab your spot at therisebusiness.com, and the link will be in the show notes. Check out when my next live webinar is, because I'm going to offer this several times a year. This is important work, and I want to share it. So I'll see you there. This is Lori Lyons. You don't need more tactics. You need sharper positioning. And sharper positioning starts with knowing exactly what transformation you provide and being bold about claiming it. And remember, it's never too late to take this new identity and start the business of your dreams. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me on the Midlife Business Academy. If today's episode made you think, or made you feel seen, share it with a fellow business owner who could use it too. When you're ready for more support, you'll find the link to book your Profitable Path Blueprint call in the show notes. I'll be back next week with more insight and strategy to help you build a business that truly fits your life and one of your dreams. We'll see you next time on the Midlife Business Academy.